What's up, everybody? Welcome to the iProv vlog. I'm Jordan Smith. As always, I've got my co-host, Patrick Laughlin. Sit tight, RJ. We'll get you in a second. Pat, how are you?
I got to get some attention over here. Like, I was called the special guest. Like, where's my music and my fireworks before I get introduced?
He is special, folks. What's up, Joe?
Hey, how are you doing? You doing all right today?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to dig in with our guest today.
Yeah, hey, this is the first time we've done this. We've got a very special guest. We're going to start calling it the iProv. Oh, Keith, put some graphics in right here. The iProv hot seat. I just look like a dummy. But hey, we've got RJ Martino. Some of you guys that are familiar with iProv might know RJ as the co-founder, owner, and CEO of iProv. What you might not know is he also owns, 4 other businesses and actively runs those 4 other organizations too, right?
Yeah. In fact, one of them just got launched in January in the midst of, I don't know when this will exactly get released, but, in the midst of all of this too. So it's interesting. It's interesting, buying something at the peak of the market and riding it up. It's also interesting starting something whenever the market's kind of going down. It's got its own set of challenges.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we're excited to have RJ on. We wanted to just do a different format today and throw just some questions at RJ, let him impart his knowledge on not only Pat and I, but you guys out there too. So Pat, start us off. Put RJ in the iProv vlog hot seat.
I'm really excited that RJ's here because one of the things that RJ is fantastic at is networking. He continually surprises me with the number of people he knows. He absolutely is the prototypical connector, and inevitably you go somewhere with RJ and he meets somebody. So I know that not only is he thinking a lot about business right now, he's talking to a lot of people that are thinking about business. So RJ, Jordan, I really want to pick your brain about, what have you been hearing? What's on your mind? I mean, things are starting to open up. What are your sort of thoughts about all of this right now?
Well, if we're talking about COVID-19 specifically, I think if you're talking to my friends who often lead or run or own businesses, it's just like everybody else in your household. There's a lot of fear, uncertainty, a lot of I'm gonna have to change the way I do everything because the world has changed, and trying to figure out what that looks like. And so I hate to say there's a lot of stagnation, or what's the word, where you're crippled by fear and you just you do nothing at all. The market right now, there's a lot of paralysis, and you're talking about, we work with some Fortune 500 companies and we work with a whole lot of small businesses too, across the board. Just a lot of paralysis, a lot of wait and see.
Yeah.
So that's really sort of interesting. So, I mean, I know that you're sort of hearing a lot of that sort of we don't know what's next from business leaders, but what are you hearing from some of the employees at some of your other businesses? Because I know you've been reaching out and trying to have some one-on-ones during all of this just to make sure that we keep culture and morale up. What are you hearing from employees?
If you get down and dig into employees, they're struggling with a lot of the same things. And, often when I'm talking to those people, I'm trying to be the leader that they need. And a lot of times we forget that that's what they look at us for. And we want to, share in the misery. And I hate to say it, but sometimes my fears are the same as theirs. But I feel like it's a lot of my job is to refocus them, reframe them on how they're looking at this, whether it is, the world is changing and look at these new opportunities, or it's, hey, everything's great, let's stay the course. As soon as things turn back on, we're going to rock and roll. But those conversations across the board, the fear is there. And, as leaders, as people in this room and people watching this, we got to realize that that's just how everybody is right now, is questioning what the future looks like.
Well, that's a good point. I heard a good quote the other day that right now everybody's living in the present because they're so scared or they're so unsure about them. So that being said, you having to be the kind of, not really the cheerleader, but making sure that you're maintaining some sort of composure. How do you personally kind of scruff out all that noise and stay focused on what you need to stay focused on?
That's a good question. And it really comes back to, we've got a framework and you guys know it like the back of your hand. But it's all about knowing what the long-term vision is. And I hate doing 10-year plans because you think, man, business changes so much faster than 10 years from now. And so I got to be nimble. I got to keep my head on a swivel. I got to change all the time. But you can't do that. You've got to work towards some kind of long-term vision. And you might be wrong. What you think 10 years looks like might be wrong, but that's not a problem. You can change that vision, but not looking right now in the present. I think it's counter to what some people, you could take this out of context and, we all want to be more in the present, but from a business standpoint, we've got to be looking, 10 years down the road. We've got to look a year down the road, because the way most entrepreneurs and business owners are built is we want to do something and we want to do it right now. And the right question to ask is, what will matter 10 years from now? If I decide to do something completely different because I'm in the present, I don't have anything to do, so let's sell some stuff on eBay and maybe make a little bit of money selling stuff on eBay. Well, will that really matter 10 years from now? And so thinking long term, I think, is where we as leaders and business owners need to be thinking.
Yeah.
Well, and so my next question was, what are you doing to encourage people that you're talking to keep their head in the game and work on the important stuff? And I think you answered that. But I watched a video with Simon Sinek this week where he said, it was really great. He said, talking about getting back to normal is sort of ridiculous, because we have no idea what normal is going to be after all of this. And the truth is, after the 1918 pandemic, after the Great Depression, nobody could have predicted what the normal was, but big opportunities happened. Big growth happened after all of those events.
Yeah, the Roaring 20s and the industrial, all that stuff happened right
up. And so what are you doing as a business leader to sort of keep focused on the opportunities? What are you telling yourself and your friends?
Well, I think we all, you hear me, and I am an optimist. I'm saying let's think long term, but I'm also strategically planning and knowing that no matter what happens, you're exactly right. There's going to be huge opportunities. As it is no secret that a lot of the world, including your competitors, have frozen, have stopped actively giving 110% while they're waiting to see, or maybe, they're getting distracted because they got to pay their bills. And so they do start thinking very short term. I am constantly telling my leadership team, you guys have heard it, other of our business leaders have heard it, which is opportunities are going to arise. And we've got to keep the positive emphasis on those opportunities need to be taken advantage of. I think, what we see over and over is that the companies that do the best in times like these are those that act first in, controlling, or those that act first on things like, cutting cost or holding off on brand new commitments. We're not going out and buying houses right now or buying new cars right now. You don't get the stimulus money and just blow it because it's there. You keep it, you keep your powder dry, they say, and then you take advantage. And when you're able to, and when we open back up, we get out first. We know our long-term vision, and we are action-oriented. So if you haven't strategically thought about opening, which fear makes you just want to put your head in the sand, we are broaching that subject with our leaders and saying, hey, what's the plan when things are back to normal, and how and when are we ready to get started? Our guns are loaded. We know where we're going. We're ready to track and climb that mountain.
Well, and that's interesting too. So one of our agency partners sent over a study to all of us today. And one of the really interesting statistics in it was they did a whole bunch of surveys. They did a big survey of marketing agencies and then marketers within some large companies in the country. And 68% of the respondents said that they were planning to spend more or not change their marketing spend in the second half of 2020, which is really encouraging to me, who leads a marketing agency. But what's frightening about that is that there will be all of this pent up demand, and it will all hit the market at once. I mean, I want to encourage anybody who is thinking about what you're going to do in Q3, Q4. Let's start having conversations now. Let's get out of this focus on the present and let's think about the future.
Well,
sure. But go ahead.
Well, that being said, a lot of the people who are trying to be strategic, the first thing they look at cutting, a lot of businesses just have to cut costs. You're talking about demand, where we're seeing in a lot of organizations that we lead, you're talking about demand has fallen 20%. And that's a nice way of saying revenue has fallen 20%. And so you have to make adjustments. It's prudent. You just have to do it. So where do you make those cuts? And those are hard decisions. But the most successful business leaders, there's no surprise here, where you can't cut is sales and marketing. I mean, you've got to get that top line back. And the only way you get it is by focusing on it. I had a great podcast with Greg Hatcher, who is known as one of the top sales and service professionals in Arkansas. And he told me once, if you want more sales, hire more salespeople. It's business is just that easy. And so cutting sales and marketing at this point feels like, okay, I can live without it right now. But this is the time where in our organizations, we're saying, no, we're actually increasing budgets on that end, because we know we've got to get it back. We got to get that top line back. And the only way you do it is by putting focused effort, putting resources there. And that often means money.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, we talked about this in an earlier episode. Now's a good time to grab market share. If you can't grab revenue, at least grab a bigger piece of the pie for when the pie does, come back in whatever form that is. So to get off of sort of of this, let's get on to a little bit of lighter fare. What are you doing to cope with quarantine? You and Jordan are probably the two most extroverted people in all of our companies. What has been your coping mechanism? What are you reading? What content are you consuming? How are you getting out safely?
Yeah, it is giving me more time to spend time reading. And so I think I told you guys there's an author that we like a lot, and I can't remember his name, but he's got this book out called Perennial Sales Now, which talks
Ryan Holiday.
Yeah, Ryan Holiday. And what was the other book that we read as a group?
It was the one about Stoic philosophy. The Obstacle's the Way. That's
it. The Obstacle. And I mean, it has become kind of a cornerstone to tough times. And, it talks about how you've got to love the process. And so it's speaking to me right now. His stoicism is kind of getting drilled into my head. And it talks about creating things for the long-term value, not creating things just immediately. So I'm happy I've been able to do more reading. With 5 companies and me being active in as much of them, in all of them, there's still just a lot of work to do. And so, what's been interesting is how much more efficient I've been getting travel out of there. Usually I love being in person. I just think that there's something different, but I'm being a lot more efficient. And it's opened up new opportunities. And so I am right now spending a lot of time just investigating new opportunities for, at iProv, we're doing new things with trying to figure out how can we do more with this new remote world. And so thinking through that is just, it's important. We talk a lot about important versus urgent time. And so I'm getting more time to do important stuff. And it's fun. And, it's me just sitting with computer, just a notepad and a pen and trying to plan out what that would look like. And for guys like me, it's hard to make time for that. It's not always the thing I choose to do. I'd rather, just walk down the hall and hang out with you guys, but it's giving me the opportunity to do it. And when you do it, it's like going to the gym. You get done and you're like, man, I needed that more than I thought I needed it. I'm just glad I showed up to the gym and did the workout. And for this example, I'm glad I put my phone down, I closed the computer, I sat outside with just a pen and a piece of paper and thought about one problem and worked on it with a pen and paper and no other distractions.
I mean, that's huge. I love that concept a lot. And kind of piggybacking off of that, with so much that's on your plate on a regular basis, the last question we're going to ask you is, what tips or tricks do you have to manage and prioritize your day? Because with so many things going on, and the family and other investments and stuff going on, how do you make sure that you've got enough time in the day? Because you only have 24 hours. What are you doing to manage and prioritize your time?
So I'm a big fan of a concept called Eisenhower matrix, and most people have heard me talk about this before. But the concept is you can organize everything you do in a 2x2 matrix, and it is urgent and important. And a lot of stuff that we as humans work on is not important, not urgent, but we just do it. We waste a lot of time. And it says for those things, just stop doing it. And so for me, that's, scrolling through Facebook news feeds, it's reading Reddit, it's just watching CNBC passively, not really thinking about, and so I try to cut that stuff out of my life. The urgent and important stuff are very easy to identify, and you just do those because they pop up all the time as you're leading organizations. But the special sauce is the important but not urgent. That's where the special parts of your life happen. If you think about the major milestones in your life, probably graduating college, a lot of time is spent doing, important stuff, working on your final thesis that, no one's really making it urgent, but you got to spend time doing that. For businesses, it is developing a new service offering where there is no recipe for how to do that. So working on important and urgent stuff is how I prioritize. The hardest part is figuring out what is important. Mm-hmm. And for everybody, it's different. For the guy who, you just said with the kids, spending time with my kids is important. But identifying what's important is hard because you only got 24 hours to give. You have to yourself say, here's the most important stuff to me. And so that forces me to say, okay, I know family's important. I gotta make sure I spend time with the family. It is, spending time with Jordan and Patrick. That's important to me. So I gotta block off time to do it. And so prioritization becomes a lot easier when you're clear in your head on what's important. So, and we push that same mantra to the entire office. Everybody's hired to do something, to focus on one part of our business. And that's our job as leaders, is helping our people identify what's important in their specific role. So I don't know, I kind of took the left turn there, but for me, it is what's important to me.
Yeah, no, I love it. And playing off everything else he said. So I don't know. I feel like we could have done a video series on each one of those answers. So, and we probably will. So watch out for that. RJ, thank you so much. Thanks for being our first guest in the iProv Vlog hot seat.
I love it. Hey, it's a whole lot easier than I expected. I'm a little sweaty in the seat right now because I was nervous. I'm being in the hot seat, but it's easy.
We'll call it the iProv sweat seat. How's that?
Oh, that is terrible, Joe.
We don't want to do that. Hey, question for the day. Let us know what you're doing out there to manage your time. How are you making sure that you focus on the big picture stuff? And what challenges do you have out there? We want to hear from you guys. So leave that in the comments. Reach out to us. Pat and I are always willing to talk. RJ is too. So let us know, comment, like, hit all the buttons that you can, and watch this thing, share it with your friends. Let us know what topics you want coming up.
And don't forget office hours every Thursday at 3:30.
Every Thursday, brand new thing, office hours. Pop in and talk to us. Just say hi. We hope there's not going to be too many crazy Zoom bombs, but we'll find out. Just
How long until we're sharing our cell phone on Twitter like Gary Vee?
yeah, just show up and watch.
Hey, this was fun. I'm glad we did it, and invite me anytime. I love it.
We will. We're definitely going to have you back. All right. iProv blog. Peace, peeps. Thanks, Pat. Thanks, RJ.
Thanks, Jeff. See you soon.
See y'all.